Thank you, Nikhila, and good evening to all of you once again. This is my second time that I am asked to introduce TFO and the presenter, and I think it's my privilege to do so. Uh, Today's presentation is going to be made by Pallavi Ilkal. She's one of my PhD students, and her presentation is going to be an extension of her PhD. So I'm sure she will be waiting for your feedback, comments, and uh, whatever discussion that's going to happen in next 1.5 hours. To introduce the TFO, Talking Films Online, or TFO, in short, is an informal coming together of academics, students, researchers, filmmakers, and cinephiles interested in cinema. More importantly, interested in talking and writing about cinema. The online group came together quite spontaneously during the pandemic and lockdown in June 2020. Geeta Vishwanath from Baroda and Nikhila from Hyderabad have been coordinating the activities of TFO since its inception. With people like Sanjay Kumar, Sridhar Modugu, K. Paniraj, Ajanta Sarkar, Murali Krishna, Tarkeshwar VB, Yagnashri, Rasha, Madhurima, Vijay Kumar Boratti, and many others who join the weekly discussions and enhance the quality of the discussion. So far, TFO has organized 225 weekly online discussions. In fact, this is the 23rd, 230th one, if I am right, which include weekly discussions on a pre-decided film, besides a few month-long film festivals and discussions. For instance, last September, TFO had organized a Kannada movie month where filmmakers Prithvi Konanur and Srinidhi Bengaluru and screenplay writer Ananta Chandreya joined the discussion. Filmmakers often have made available their films exclusively for TFO members to watch by generously sharing links to their film. And this year itself, directors Bunny Singh and Sanju Surendran, Associate Director Robin Joy, and actor Tintumol Joseph have joined the discussion of their respective films. In the past years, we have had directors like Utsav Gonwar, Deepa Dhanraj, Jayan Cherian, Girish Kasravalli, Adur Gopalakrishnan, Aparna Sen, Anjali Montioro, and KP Jaishankar, etc., participate in the TFO weekly discussions. During June every year, to make its anniversary, TFO organizes the smartphone short film competition for students between 18 to 25 years of age, and the winners are awarded prizes. On September 30th and October 1st last year, TFO organized the first international seminar on Indian cinema in the digital era, the continuities and discontinuities, in collaboration with the Forum on Contemporary Theory, Baroda. The aim of TFO is to get a conversation going around cinema and to get as many people involved in the process as possible. With the weekly events being online, anyone and everyone interested in cinema is welcome to TFO. TFO has a WordPress blog called where all kinds of writings on cinema are encouraged. TFO's YouTube channel is called Talking Films Online, where you can watch some of the discussions. TFO has a private group on Facebook, and there is also a WhatsApp group where the posters with the film links for discussion and Zoom links are posted. Today, we are discussing the film Fahrenheit 451. The film was suggested by Pallavi Divakar Ilkal. Pallavi Divakar Ilkal is an assistant professor of English since 2017. She secured first rank in MA English at Rani Chennamma University, Belgavi, Karnataka in 2013. She has presented papers at conferences and has published articles in journals. Currently, a research scholar at the University of Mysore, she is pursuing PhD under the supervision of Dr. Vijay Kumar M. Borati. Her current research focuses on the crucial and relevant subject of banning and burning of books as they are portrayed in literature. She has also completed her post-graduation in history. Her academic and research interests span multiple disciplines and embrace both interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary approaches. That's what I want to tell about TFO and today's presenter. Now I'll hand it over to Pallavi. She can start the discussion on the film. She can initiate, and as Nikhila told, Pallavi can take as much time as you can, depending on your presentation. After that, discussions follow. Over to Pallavi. Thank you.
Namaste. Am I audible?
Yes, Pallavi. Yes, you are audible clearly.
Am I Namaste. Thank you, sir, for briefing about TFO and telling about me. I always enjoy watching films and discussing them with my close associates. But today I have got this opportunity to discuss a film with a larger audience, for which I wholeheartedly thank TFO for providing this opportunity. And I also thank my research supervisor, Vijay Boratti sir, for encouraging me. My presentation is based on my examination and interpretation of the film Fahrenheit 451, particularly focusing on my PhD research. My study examines
Pallavi, one
the
suggestion.
depiction, analysis,
Pallavi,
and critique of
Pallavi,
it aims to it
Pallavi,
impact
one
readers
suggestion.
and reading practices. Start with my
Pallavi,
presentation.
one suggestion.
Yes,
Your
ma'am.
net connection
Yes, I'm
is,
hearing.
yeah, so your internet connection it's showing bandwidth low. So we are not able to hear you properly. Maybe it will help if you turn off your video. So you can speak by
Okay.
turning off your video. You can connect, the PowerPoint later. Yeah, you can continue. Sorry for the interruption.
Yes, ma'am. Just give me a minute, ma'am. I'll check the internet thing.
You have actually shared your screen. You can continue, Pallavi. Just that if you turn off your video, it will help, I think.
You can continue discussion.
Is the PPT visible?
Yes, it is visible. You can continue.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So my study, I'll continue from there. My study examines the depiction, analysis, and critique of banning and burning of books in English fictions, with a focus on how these actions impact readers and reading habits, as well as various ways of resistance they provoke. The censorship of books has been ongoing for centuries, and it is often justified by those who impose it. But throughout the history till date, readers and literary professionals have resisted such acts in diverse ways. The issue remains current and significant worldwide. The movie which I'm going to talk about is based on the novel of the same title by Ray Bradbury, published in the year 1953. The movie is directed by a very famous screenplay writer, director, and a film critic, Francois Truffaut. He has adapted Ray Bradbury's novel. It was a science fiction, and it is Truffaut's first English film. The movie, when released, got mixed critical reception, but later it gained recognition as a classic dystopian film. And this film is actually an artistic response to censorship and intellectual suppression. Now, what must have influenced this movie? The world has already known about Nazi book burnings in the regime of Hitler. It was critiqued everywhere. During 1950s and 1960s, Americans underwent censorship due to the government's paranoia about communist influences, or this fear of communist influence is also given as a justification for imposing censorship. Censorship created an environment of fear where people were afraid to express diverse or critical opinions. There were mechanisms of suppression like blacklisting of artists, intellectuals. There were some government supported committees like House Un American Anti Communist Activities Committee, and also there were many anti communist committees. This film, the film's central metaphor of burning of books, resonates deeply with attempts to control information and thought. Uh, Not only in America, in other parts of the world, wherever there were authoritative governments, there were military dictatorships, censorships were imposed where artists were, punished for not in conformity with the existing order of the day. For example, the Soviet Union maintained a strict information control. Even the 1950s represented a peak period of government censorship across both democratic and authoritarian nations. So, writers were punished for deviating from approved themes, even in China. So, from press control to book banning and imprisonment of dissidents in military dictatorships, we find this was an age where censorship was rampant, and at the same time there was this rise of mass media and technology, which was in government control, and governments used this for censorship purposes. Television was becoming dominant mass media form. Technology was used for manipulation. Again, there was also beginning of a questioning of authorities. There were growing concerns about information control and propaganda. So the novel is one such attempt. As the novel performs its non-literal role, The film too here plays a social role of critiquing issues and creating awareness. So Francois Truffaut is considered or a central figure in the new wave French cinema, which rejected traditional filmmaking. The new wave cinema, led by Truffaut and like minded people, aimed at experimentations, and thematically, the filmmakers explored contemporary social issues, youth questions, existential questions, etc. So Truffaut was committed to challenging traditional filmmaking and exploring socially critical narratives. They were interested in what was going on in the society and they tried to critique them. And Bradbury's novel aligned perfectly with his interests. So if you look at the technical aspects, the opening and closing credits of the film are spoken rather than written. So we find the influence of French New Wave sensibilities and also some influence of traditional filmmaking approaches. So the credits are spoken rather than written, somewhere indicating the absence of written words in a society, which where books are forbidden. And except for burning scenes and the red fire truck, mostly a muted color palette is used. The firemen, they wear blue uniforms, and the fire truck is red, and burning scenes are vibrant. Other than that, all dim colors are used to represent the places and peoples. Also, unlike other science fiction based movies, this film avoids advanced technology, and importance is given to the psychological development of or psychological portrayal of the characters, and importance is given to visual storytelling over dialogues. The acting style is cold and detached. It is clearly visible, maybe to show the dystopian kind of environment or to show the emptiness of the life they are leading without books. So the book burning sequences in the movie are usually striking and realistic. The technical aspects are chosen in such a way that they support the thematical concerns of the film, and this establishes the skills of the director. Now, let's get started with our discussion on the film proper. The book actually opens with the line, "It was a pleasure to burn." So it is a society where books are forbidden, and anybody who has books in possession is punished, and books are collected, they are burnt down. So when the movie begins, we find alarms and fire truck moving to burn books. So firemen, in contrast to what they are supposed to do, they are burning books in the movie. The first book burning happens in public, where all the books are collected and burnt. This is to show the people the show what happens when somebody goes against the order of the authority. So, possession of books and reading is forbidden. And the most striking point here is throughout the movie, when we watch books burned down, all so many kinds of books are collected. So it does not belong to one particular ideology or one particular genre. So all kinds of books are burnt. So this in this society, books are completely forbidden. The entire idea of reading a book uh, is discouraged and denied actually. And there is a well established surveillance system in the society. One is the firemen who are bound by their duties to, destroy all the books. There is always a constant searching, and also people inform the firemen if somebody has books. So this kind of surveillance system is there, due to which many people do not have books. But in the course of the story, we will discuss this point. The power of books and reading is dreaded. It is against the established order, and most people adhere to this, to the authority. But there are some people who are still having books, and that's why firemen have their jobs. So they still have books, which indicates that there are people who are still interested in reading books and who resist to what the authority, has said. So the protagonist of the movie, Guy Montag, is a fireman and he's a conformist. He does his job very efficiently without questioning. He just follows the orders. He reaches the place and he burns books. Uh, and he also trains young men to find the hidden books. So in the society, the idea of burning books, the idea of finding the hidden books, the idea of completely eliminating the reading practices is well established. When the movie, as the movie continues, we also meet Montag's wife Linda, and their life is depicted as monotonous one, and there is complete emptiness in their life, perhaps due to the absence of books and also due to the presence of or addiction to the technology. Linda is always seen watching TV screens, and she is eager to participate in a reality show. I mean, it is not real. She wants to participate in a show called The Family. She wants to be a part of it. At the same time, uh, she doesn't pay interest when Montag tells about his upcoming, promotion. So all her concentration is all the time towards the TV screen. Linda is just an example. She's the representative of all the people who are addicted to this kind of technology mania, especially entertainment, I should say. Now, they're all addicted to this kind of easygoing life and always spending time for entertainment. And Linda takes sleeping pills. She doesn't get sleep. When she takes sleeping pills, when Montag calls doctor, uh, he's not visited by the doctor, but he's visited by two mechanics kind of people who put machine into her stomach, and they just clean her body. It's like life has become too mechanical, divide of emotions, divide of, say, humanity here. So if we look at the faces of the characters, melancholic look is given to them. They hardly laugh at ease, and the only example that we see here of a free being is Clarissa. So Guy Montag meets Clarissa by chance, and this initiates the beginning of the transformation, because it is her words which make him think. At the first meeting, Clarissa asks some questions like if he is happy, a very poignant question that anybody would ask, and he is not able to answer and he thinks about it. And also, she questions why do they burn? Because the job of the fireman is to put off the fire. For which Guy Montag says that everything is fireproof, and uh, everything is fireproof and firemen are not required to put off the fire these days. So uh, such elements establish and portray the kind of life they are living in that society. And Clarissa is portrayed in contrast to in contrast, sorry, there's a mistake, in contrast to other characters, She also says that she's considered as a weird person because she laughs, she speaks a lot, she thinks, of course, she reads, and it's in secret because the in the society reading is prohibited. The readers, they do read in secret. This is one of the ways of resisting censorship. Often readers, they cannot stop their wish for reading, and they do read in secret. They have books, and those books, if found, are burnt by the firemen. In the movie, interestingly, the role of Linda and the role of Clarissa is played by the same actress, perhaps to show the contrasting qualities of both the characters. Montag, who was doing his job sincerely, is made to think by Clarissa, their conversations, and at one point he steals a book. He while burning the books, he takes a book and puts into his bag, and he goes home and starts reading that book. And he reads the first book read by him, as shown in the film, is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. So now let us mm, let me tell you about David Copperfield. It's a novel by Charles Dickens, and it's about a young man's journey towards maturity in a very unfriendly kind of environment. So perhaps the director hints at the beginning of a journey. Uh, in case of Montag, also in a very unfriendly kind of environment where he changes, and what he becomes is the next part of the movie. Uh, in the film, firemen are busy. It's not that occasionally they get calls for, check for books, hidden books. Continuously, they go check for books, and they have this, chance of burning books. It's almost a regular activity there, uh, which also shows that there are people still who are, collecting books and who are reading books. At one place, when they reach a woman's house, that house is completely covered with books, I should say. She has a large collection of books. She's an avid reader of books. She considers books as everything, and she says books speak to her. So that scene is quite interesting, where we can see a lot of books, their titles, and here Captain Beatty, the fire chief, uh, tells about it's he's a powerful. It's a monologue. So he delivers a monologue explaining why books are banned in their society. He's talking to Montag. He argues that society demanded quicker, simpler, informative kind of books. So books were condensed, shortened, and later abandoned. So see the justification. And also he states books contained conflicting ideas that offended various groups. So society chose to eliminate the source of controversies. And also he says books are people are happy without books because knowledge brings doubt, questions, and unhappiness. So for him, thinking is a burden. So as nobody reads, nobody is intellectually superior or inferior. For him, a space without books is there is equality. So also technology has provided immediate gratification compared to the books. He's not just a villain or a supporter of authority defending censorship. He presents a worldview where censorship emerged from society that chose comfort over truth, entertainment over knowledge, conformity over individuality. So certain justifications are given, and the highlight of these justifications is that society has willingly accepted uh, you know uh, a space where books are not required, which is not true. When we watch the movie, we understand that the majority must have done this. But some people still resist this kind of justifications. Particularly with the example of this woman's case who has collected books and she is not ready to get out of her house, and she says books talk to her, and if she were to die, she will die with her books. If books are burned down, she will also have to be with them, and books are burnt along with the lady. So she commits suicide, in the sense she burns herself along with her books. This incident marks the greatest transformational stage in Montag's life. Montag has already started reading books. He was already in the influence of the books. He has started enjoying them, and now he kind of becomes a rebel, because uh, burning of books is also taking lives, and the passion that the woman had for the books, he thinks about all these things and he starts collecting books, he hides books, he hoards books, and night and night he reads books. Actually, Linda confronts him for collecting books and reading them, but he confronts Linda, saying that what has she done all these years except watching TV screens? She doesn't remember anything, she doesn't know anything, and now, as she is addicted to the family of the TV screen, for him, books are his family. This is a major declaration made by him. And when Linda and her friends are sitting in the home watching again the TV screens, TV parlors, say people are so much addicted. They visit other people's home also to watch TV, and they don't speak much. They silently watch the TV, and they're more enthusiastic about participating in that show rather than speaking to people and discussing things. Maybe because they don't read books. Here, Linda and their friends, when they were watching the TV shows, he enters angrily, he confronts them also, and he questions them why they watch this, TV, and he makes them sit, he forces them to listen to his reading of a passage from a book. When he reads the book, one of the ladies, she breaks down and she starts crying, and other ladies blame Montag for being cruel, being for making them, spoil their day, spoil their afternoon, and they all reject and they get dejected. They don't enjoy the books and they move away. So Linda also feels ashamed, and she decides to leave Montag. She decides to inform about this to the authority rather than supporting Montag. So her loyalty is more towards authority rather than to her husband. Also, Clarissa gets missing, and he tries to know what happened with Clarissa. He meets Clarissa in the night, and both of them they discuss about how to save books. And here he comes to know about book people. There are a group of people who are dedicated towards reading books and preserving books. Uh, uh, Through innovative means that I shall tell in later part. Here, Linda and Montag, along with Clarissa, also tries to destroy the list containing people who have books, so that they should not be punished. So the direct resistance begins from here, where he confronts people, where he reads continuously, and at the end, he also decides to resign his job. He informs this to the fire captain, but BT tells him to attend the last call before resigning. And to his shock, Montag goes to his own house to burn books. So with much disgust, he burns books. but at the same times, with a flamethrower, the same tool which is used to incinerate books, Montag also kills Captain Beatty, and he runs away. Montag rebels the entire system, and he becomes an outlaw. What does Montag do next? Is he goes to a faraway place where there are book people, and these are a group of people who read books. They not only read books, but they memorize books. So this is their way of preserving books through oral tradition. See, they cannot have books. I mean, people, those who hide books are punished, but here they read books and they memorize and they pass it on to next generations, and each person becomes a book. And this climax is beautifully shown. Even the writer appreciated this climax scene of the movie. So in the entire film depicts a situation where there is an authority which does not want people to read. People have kind of agreed to such a kind of, they are in agreement with the authority, and in turn, for not reading, they get their entertainment through media and technology. And also, media and technology is used as a tool to maintain the established order, and people are the passive consumers of information. The authority not only controls the society politically, but socially, in the sense people don't discuss with each other, they're all busy watching TVs all the time. There's all sorts of control over the people, and people to some extent have accepted them with some exceptions, I should say. There is elimination of books through book burning. So even in the throughout the history, we witness the instances of book burnings, uh, and to create that fear, to make people adhere to the order. But throughout the history, we also, and in the film also, we experience responses and resistance to the burning of books in various ways. See, if a person has a book, it is a resistance. A person, especially in the situation like this one having in this movie, having a book, reading a book, collecting books, stealing books. These are all the ways of resisting the authority. These are all the ways of resisting passive ways of living in the modernist world. And the active resistance is by directly opposing the system, which Montag does at a point where he kills the captain, and also uh, finding new ways of reading books, finding new ways of preserving knowledge is also kind of resistance that is portrayed in the movie. The movie is successful in acting as a warning against censorship, uh, where the preservation of knowledge and the preservation of oral tradition is also depicted. It is definitely a timeless film that critiques censorship and highlights the importance of intellectual freedom.
Is that all, Pallavi? Have you
Yes,
concluded the presentation?
yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Pallavi, for that uh, discussion on the movie. And if I am right, the film as well as the discussion, I'm sure have triggered off many issues for discussions, like question of burning or banning, its history, then question of freedom, self-expression, free speech, and also question of
Yes.
reading practices. Included with this is also question of women, their role to the burning or banning books, and also their approaches, responses to books, and their obsession with technology, especially TV, watching TV, the programs that are broadcast or telecast in the TV as a new technology. So there are many 101 issues that can be discussed in relation to your discussion and in relation to the film. And I think I asked the other participants to participate
Yes.
in the discussion, and I'm sure she will be waiting for your feedback, questions, and useful comments for our PhD. As I told, it's an extension of the presentation is an extension of our PhD, which actually tries to understand portrayal of burning and banning in fictional world, in literature. While I did a PhD on literary controversies, taking context into discussion, context to text, that's what I traversed in my PhD. But Pallavi is trying to understand how it is such controversies are portrayed in literature. So as part of it, this was her presentation, and this discussion, this presentation is open for discussion and debates. Over to others. Thank you. I'll stop here. I'm not going to ask questions to Pallavi. Others can do that. Please, my personal request is to give her lots of feedback, responses, and comments so that she'll be benefited by you people. Thank you, and thank you, Nicola and Geeta, for this opportunity. Over to others.
I too
Can I-
request the audience the same.
Can I come in, Vijay?
Please, Geeta, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah,
Discussion and debates. Over to others. Thank you. And stop here. I'm not going to ask questions to Pallavi.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Pallavi, for your introduction, and for also placing the film in the larger context of the banning of books, etc., as well as intellectual freedom and all of that. Thank you. What I had read Bradbury's book many years ago, and generally I don't like to look at film as an adaptation in such a way that invariably the film is seen as inferior to the novel on which it is based. I would rather look at them as independent entities. But in the case of this book and film, I thought there were so many striking differences, and I was just wondering, what could be the reasons for Truffaut to make these kind of departures. One is the in the book, if I'm not mistaken, Montag recites Dover Beach, and here he's reading a passage from David Copperfield. So I thought that was quite stark because Dover Beach is like most of us are familiar with the poem, and it is full of despair and dystopian, which kind of fits in with the theme of the film, whereas in the film it is a passage from David Copperfield, so it kind of makes it more almost as if Montag wants to tell the women, that they are they're kind of, empty and that kind of a thing. So that was one thing. And another very intriguing and at the same time very interesting part was the same actress is playing the role of, I think it is Julie Christie,
Christy, yes.
playing the role of Clarice as well as Linda. So I don't know why, what was Truffaut's logic for this kind of a thing. And that too, you have Linda, who is anti books, and Clarice, who is, fond of books and reading and trying to save books. So that I thought was something quite interesting. So these are, some of the things that struck me when I was reading it. When I was watching the film, and also trying to recall the novel that I had read many years ago. Thank you. Thank you for your
Thank you, Geeta.
introduction.
Pallavi, if you would like to respond to what Geeta has commented, you can. Otherwise, we have David Rees, who has unmuted himself. He has a question or comments to make. David, would you like to pitch in?
Thank you.
I will add, sir.
Yes. Can we give 1 minute to Pallavi, please? She wants to respond to. Yeah. Go ahead, Pallavi.
Yeah, as Madam said, I did notice the difference of reading Dover Beach, and here he reads a passage from the book. Even I understood it in the same way, because he rebukes those women for their addiction of technology, and they don't support him in his reading, especially Linda. And secondly, about this casting of the same person for two characters, this is commented upon by many people. Even the writer says he is largely happy with the adaptation, but he comments on this part, why it was done is the question. But I understood it in this way. I mentioned also in my presentation, like maybe the director wants to show two women, a woman in contrasting, both women are in the life of Montag. One is his wife, and one is a person who motivates him. So this contrast is he wants to establish. Interestingly, so that's why the same actress is given a chance.
David?
Thank you. Several points that struck me. I mean, one, we heard about differences between the book and the film. If I remember correctly, near the end of the book, there is a nuclear attack, and there's a passage where Montag reflects on Linda sitting in her house, watching the screens that are entertaining her, not warning her, saying nothing about the missiles that are approaching her house. Also, watching the film yesterday, I thought there was something very unnatural and strange about the scene where Montag first meets Clarissa. I'm not sure it was exactly a chance meeting. We see Montag in the transport, and his facial expression, he looks almost as if he is staring at a woman, fascinated. We don't see who he's staring at, but possibly it's something about the way he's looking that prompts or encourages Clarissa to go up to him and start talking to him. And I felt this was not at all naturalistic, and I wondered if people had any thoughts about what the filmmaker was doing here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, David, for that intervention. I don't think there was any question from your side. Pallavi, would you like to respond to David or?
No, sir.
Okay. Nikhila, can you come in and
Thank you very much, Vijay, and for agreeing, first of all, to coordinate the discussion for TFO, and Pallavi, very interesting. I think your research project is also very interesting, and you've chosen a nice film for discussion for TFO. David's question is very important. I too felt glaring plot holes, plot gaps, lack of plausibility in many aspects of the film. But I also kind of thought it's part of the enigma of the genre. That it is kind of meant to be a futuristic film. Maybe one applies a different kind of logic because it's so strange. That Clarice just decides out of the blue to have a conversation with Montag. So many things are kind of left unexplained. For instance, Linda's own motivation to kind of except that she's a little afraid of what will happen to her, but otherwise why does she want to give him up so easily, and so on. I mean, what does she see as the future of her action? So some of these things seemed like they were not explained enough. I had two points to make about the film. One was on the ending, which I found quite beautiful. This move to orality. So from reading to orality and kind of becoming a walking book. I thought that was extremely interesting. In the sense that you commit the book to memory, you commit the book to language, to spoken language, to orality. When the book as a physical object, its life becomes untenable. So, of course, not that human life is, as we can see there, not that humans, can't be killed or whatever, but I thought that move, there's something very lovely about, the idea of all these people becoming books. As if to kind of question through their body and being the kind of ban and the kind of regime that is there. I thought that was very interesting. Secondly, that process of reading. I was thinking, like if we are not familiar with books, he reads, of course, David Copperfield, and I was looking at the way in which he's reading virtually everything, like the publisher, the place of publication. So it's like a faculty you have lost, and now it's like you have to learn or relearn the faculty of reading. So let's say 20 or 30 years later, and this is a generation of students too who very soon will lose the faculty to read. So when you're confronted with a book, what do you read and how do you read and how do you make sense? I thought that process itself, which we take so much for granted. We think that, okay, page one is where, one has to begin the novel. But here he starts from the title page with all this and reading it aloud. So it's like a faculty which we have today learned silent reading. That's not there. He's reading it aloud. So in a way, there are many things that at many points at which I felt we are already living the dystopia that the book kind of tells us, in our addiction to screens, for instance, in our impatience with whether it's humanities, philosophy, literature, with thinking, we just people in power just want obedience. So nobody wants people to read. So in a way, it is also a world that is very much. It's not a future for us. We are the future. I thought in some ways over here, and also the gradual disappearance of books. It could be, not necessarily always because of banning. It's because, either it's technology or the impatience with reading something which is long. So everyone wants information in capsule form. So it's all that I thought the film is capturing. Only thing is, I felt it was. How long can you watch this repeated burning of books? There are so many instances of that. That made me a little impatient while watching the film. Otherwise, the idea itself, very, 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 very much worth contemplating. Thank you, Pallavi, for suggesting the film, and thank you, Vijay.
I just want to add. Can I?
Please, Pallavi.
Yes. Let me attempt to, say a few things on the glares or the void, or why the cinema is in such a strange way, as commented by many critics as well. This was the only English film directed by a French director who did not speak English. Maybe that has something to do. Other person wrote, screenwriting was done by a different person. He just directed the movie. He did not speak English, and also he had artistic differences with the hero of the film. So it was not easy for the director to direct this movie, complete this project. And he was also experimenting. As I mentioned already, he belonged to that new wave cinema, in which a lot of technical experimentations, thematical experimentations were done. And also, as per my observation, I feel if people speak. Now, why in most cases people just stare, they don't speak much. The idea perhaps be, if people speak, the change is easy. Kind of they discuss, there's a lot of, discussions and expressions, and this may bring a change. But here there is a twist in the cinema, that it's a different kind of resistance. It's where books are read by a group of people. They have that responsibility. They have taken that responsibility of saving the books, and not the people of the society, the majority of the society. So people don't speak, and we want special people, to bring change in the society. So maybe he's highlighting on that, and throughout the cinema, he wants to maintain that kind of tone, and he wants to show the bizarre world. He wants to show how people lack that ability to speak, express, think, etc. This is my observation, so you can extend it.
Okay. Who is next? Any comment, any feedback, or any observation? We have Nagaragiri Ramesh, sir. Would you like to come in, sir? Le Fabienne.
Yes, this is Ramesh here.
Please go ahead, sir. Good evening.
I find a parallel. I mean, I should say, it's a very deeply political film based on a political novel, which presents before us the conditions that might obtain in any society where an autocrat or a fascist rules. And books here, they are not just books, they are ideas. And the very fact that there is a society, book people, wherein people try to remember books, not read them. It only shows that the writer wants to tell us that you may destroy people, you may destroy books, but you can't destroy ideas. So it is mainly based on this sort of thinking that the novel is written and also the film is made. And one can also certainly come across parallels in the present society, that is, in contemporary India also. Here it may not be happening, that is, books are not being burnt. But there is certainly, you see, a sort of an attempt on the part of the establishment, well, wherein people are not tolerated if they show certain tendencies, well, which go against the grain. That is, and you know, for example, whenever some person is arrested, and normally the police come out with a list of books that these people had in their houses. So what we call this thought crime, thinking is also a crime. So there is what is called a thought crime, and reading books and having books, and books which have not been banned, even having those books, you see, is considered to be a crime. And quite often, you see, several times, I mean, the courts also have really laughed at it. That is what is wrong in it. But at the same time, well, the establishment has been trying to defend itself through its military, through its police, saying that ideas are dangerous. So people should not think. And the other thing, that lady Linda being always seen watching the TV, there's also a sort of an attempt on the part of the establishment to make people not to think. Because if you get addicted to these soap operas and all these things, you stop thinking, and it is always very safe for the government. Because if people begin to think, the government is in danger. And on the other hand, if people are ready to be merely always and watching those TV serials, then the government is always safe. So there is a trend, well, at the dependent of an autocratic society, which is very much there. For example, I am also reminded of that novel by George Orwell, 1984, right? And also several other such writings. And so one can say the book, that is the novel, and also the film, they are very contemporary. The book and the novel, they might have appeared long ago, but they are very contemporary, and one can also go on. I mean, I would certainly advise Pallavi to look at these things, I mean, this particular issue from a very political point of view. I think she has already done it. But as I was listening to her explanation, her presentation, I did not see much of this sort of a, politics being talked about. She has given us a very clear picture of what is there in the book and also what is there in the novel. But it is, since she says it is a part of her PhD presentation and all that, I think it is also, she would do well to go beyond the text, beyond the novel, and also beyond the film, and bring in the present everywhere. Because these days we know very well that almost throughout the world, well, governments are becoming more and more autocratic. Any sort of a free thinking is frowned upon, and surely one can think of what's happening in India. It is just I'm just only trying uh, to hint at certain things, you see, that she can talk about and bring in the contemporary issues. Contemporary as well, and also things, that are happening in our own society, not necessarily in America or anywhere else in Europe, but even what's happening in India, and also the attempts on the part of the people to resist, whereas there is an attempt on the part of the establishment to suppress. This fight between the authority and the people, this fight between autocracy and free thinking, that I think has to be brought out, and I believe then her PhD dissertation will uh, gain more meaning, a deeper meaning. Thank you.
Pallavi, I think we should, I should more or less agree with what Ramesh sir has just said about non-textual examples outside the textbook and connecting it to the text, that is the literature. That's an apt observation by Ramesh. I think you can ponder over it seriously and draw insights from what he said and include in your analysis of text that you have chosen. I more or less agree with him. And would you like to say something about what Ramesh sir has said?
Yes,
Pallavi?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I thank Ramesh sir for his suggestion. Even I agree to it. I'm working on it actually. The thing is, I did not elaborate on it in this presentation. So surely I'll continue working on from that perspective also.
Perhaps you could have made references to the real life happenings, incidents, or events that resonate what is there in the film. And because the film or the novel is also an outcome of what was happening at international level, which you make statement in the beginning of your presentation.
Yes.
So I think you think about it, and I think we have Soumya has to say something, I think.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
While watching the movie, I was just interested to know if there are more deliberations in the text about the connection between the kind of position that women are represented in the movie and drugs. Because most of the women figures that we watch on the screen are overstimulated, overdosed, and unconscious. Even when Linda falls unconscious, there is a kind of clinical detachment in the people who come to handle her, as if they absolutely know how to take care of it. Automatically, she would recuperate the following day. And when the husband tries to find out the reason for her sickness, he goes through different bottles, which are totally nameless. So I was curious to know, if there are some kind of connection between state surveillance and drugs. And secondly, the kind of symbols that they have used in the movie. Is it phoenix or lizard kind of image that we see on the truck of the fireman?
It's a salamander.
Salamander, yeah. Thank you.
Madhavi wants to say something. May I ask Madhavi Ravikumar to ask question or make comments? I saw Madhavi unmuting. Madhavi, are you there?
Sorry, no, I don't have any question. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? We have others like Arvind Mitra, Rekha Matthew, Madhurima, Randir Kaur.
I don't have any questions, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Arvind, please go ahead.
No, sir, I don't have any questions. It was a nice presentation.
Okay, you can make it briefly.
Sir, I have one general question, but I don't know if it is quite relevant to put it across here. My question here is what Geeta ma'am initiated at the beginning. I think I somewhat agree with her. The difference that we have or the comparison that we do between a novel and a cinema if it is an adaptation. So my question is, let's assume that we watch a film and we get its script. We get to read its script. Then we get to find that the film is years away here and there from the script. So then do we compare the final product with the script? This is point number one, saying that, okay, this is veering away from the script, like on paper, it's better or not as good as we saw it on the film. This first question. And second, is it a sin to say a book is also a kind of a, what shall I say, not so in order script? So if that is the case, what happens to these kinds of films that are like ridden with politics and ridden with things that go to the border of controversies? This is my question. I think anyone can answer.
Yeah, I also have a like curiosity to know one thing, if I'm audible to all of you.
Yes.
Yeah. There is a scene when the firemen people enter the house of a lady. The house is full of books. And the captain, not the protagonist, but the main captain from this fire people, when he entered that room where he just see, oh my god, a lot of books, and he was picking up the books and commenting upon it. I was wondering how come, is it there in the text, or they just simply he was picking up the books and commenting upon them, from philosophy to literature to theories. He was picking up the best, best books from the world. He was commenting upon them. Is it really possible for a police personnel to be this much well-read man? Is it there in the book, or it's just a part of the movie? So that was my curiosity. Thank you.
Can I answer?
Yes, Pallavi, you're welcome.
In the book, this person is shown as a person who has read books, an intellectual kind of a person. Long ago he has read books, he knows about books, but now he has denounced them.
Okay. Thank you.
May I ask Leif Fabian to say something, or do you have anything from Tarkeshwar? Okay, Leif Fabian, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for this subject. It's a very important subject. I think for we intellectual artists, it is a key question, because we have to grow children and students to open them critical minds. And books, as it was said before, books are not only books. Books is culture. It's circulation of ideas. Books were basic of revolution, French Revolution, Russian Revolution, any kind of revolution is based on intellectual work. And for instance, books. And what's going on in America now, it's terrible. All universities are cut down, or the fundings are going through incredible cut with the Trump administration. I read an article about Columbia University. The federal state cut his funding for the university, for laboratory, for science, for all kind of science, going to health research, in artificial intelligence research, all these things are being cut by the Trump administration. And it is in the history of the world, when someone attacks culture, it's always a bad sign, a bad political sign. So I think the subject is so important, and it is a worldwide. It's something that you can observe worldwide. When you start to burn the books, this is how Hitler started. There was a night where he burned all the books and all the arts that were criticized and that he didn't like. So I think it's really interesting that they made a film. It's not easy to talk about it. It's not easy to make a film on these ideas. So thank you so much. I think it was interesting to see it now, to see this film nowadays, in this moment. So thank you.
Would you like to come in to respond to Le Fabian, who thinks that books are also part of culture and books are also part of reading practices? So books and reading practices can be somebody's culture also. So burning books means burning that particular culture. That's what Le Fabian was trying to say. Anything to say, Pallavi?
I agree to her point, sir.
Okay.
And also this can be an argument, an interesting argument.
Okay. Anybody else? Waiting for others to speak also. Okay, there is a pin drop silence. Yes.
So may I come in?
Please, Agnesty. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, my one observation is that when there is a lot of presentation about the way this technology has influenced the lives of women, there is not even a single thing how it has penetrated the lives of men. And my question to her is that whether it is the same in the novel or this adaptation has, eliminated certain things. So that's what I wanted to know. I really enjoyed the presentation as well as the movie. Thank you so much.
Pallavi, would you like to respond to her
Yes,
question?
sir. The penetration of the influence of technology is not explained in greater detail in the text and the movie, but the presence of technology, various technological tools is there in the book, which is not displayed or which is not portrayed in the movie. In movie, technology is used less, and it is a dystopian fiction in the sense it is set in future. So we don't know the past of that future. What we can assume is due to the there are technological advancements, and those technological advancements are very carefully, very neatly used by the authorities, and they have succeeded in their attempt to impose the technology and eliminate books.
My question is that we don't find any instances how this technology influenced the lives of men, because most of the scenes which we observe, we only find women watching television, and the way it has influenced their lives, not the lives of men. So that's what I wanted to know from you.
Yes, yes. That part is not described in the text also.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Who else? Can we have the conclusion of this presentation, or should we wait for others to speak about the movie? Nikhila?
If nobody else is there, I would like to come in.
Okay. The last question, I think. Please go ahead, Tarkeshwar.
It was quite interesting, the movie, but I have a different take. We are almost unanimous and vociferous about the implications of burning books. I would like to draw attention to other examples of burning books, like Manusmriti by Ambedkar in 1927, which often gets repeated even in the contemporary times. So how do you respond to burning of Manusmriti then? Number one. Number two, why I'm bringing it is we need to complicate the narrative about burning of books. One is the state. Unless you examine the role of the state and the role of the civil society, it would be very difficult to say anything about it. Now the state has not imposed any ban on certain books in India, but there are other ways of doing it through civil society means. Not simply books now. Even recently, a cartoon magazine in Tamil, their website pages were blocked. So how do we understand it? So the technology also, I think, there is a simplistic understanding if we simply read it as a burning of books. So it is much more than that. I think Nagargiri Ramesh, while speaking in the beginning, it's about thought policing. I would further try to nuance it by calling it as how do we shape the subjectivities? If I am the state, how the state would like to shape the subjectivities of the people whom it's supposed to govern, and what are the mechanisms through which you govern it. The debate can go back to Plato and Aristotle, when Plato banned poets from his ideal republic. And similarly, we should look at not simply these books. Most of the books that are referred to, though they use the word philosophy, most of them were narratives, literary narratives, quote unquote. So, and we were speaking about knowledge texts. So, how do we understand the literature and the knowledge text? Or what kind of knowledge we get out of the narrative text, and how does it shape our subjectivity? And what kind of knowledge we get from the direct knowledge text or philosophical text, that also has to be nuanced. Otherwise, it would be a kind of one-sided theorization. So much more than that, I think we need to look at not simply as a book, but shaping of the subjectivities. And what are the things that play a role in shaping the subjectivities? It is not simply the state which is doing it. Even my parents, when I was reading literature when I was very young in school, they were worried. Why this fellow is reading storybooks? Why not he read something useful? So in that sense, it is not simply the state. This is a general perception about, quote unquote, if I have to say, literature, what we glorify as literature, some people simply would call cock and bull stories, fiction, which has nothing to do with reality. So the reality and then the representation of reality in narratives, people do look at them as two different things where there's no connection at all. In fact, even the knowledge text, often some of us would say that our bookish knowledge, and we always pit this bookish knowledge with a practical ground approach. And there are so many narratives, even in literature, about it. So in that sense, this question of knowledge, the question of book as thought policing, shaping of subjectivities, and then the why narratives, and then the non-narrative text, philosophical text, all these things have to be brought to bear on the issue that we are discussing. And then the question of both state and civil society. And then if I have to use Partha Chatterjee term, along with civil society, the political society too. So even book burning could be a kind of resistance to the dominant ideology. It could be a resistance to the state itself. When somebody burns an act passed in the parliament, that we are going to oppose it. So how do we see it? Do we accept it? No, it's a book. It should be respected. Apart from these issues that we are discussing, I think there is much more larger issues about the nature of the books, number one, with print technology, and what was it earlier before print came into existence, or before the writing came into existence itself. The orality of literature not in narrow sense, but which includes what we call as Shastra literature or knowledge text too, because everything used to be in meter. Why meter? Because it's easy to remember. And I don't know, as it is shown in this movie, it is easy to remember the prose text, which doesn't have any meter. Because earlier the knowledge texts were committed to memory and preserved like that, because they were in meter, and it would be easy to remember that. So that is another thing. And about the TV and then the book that is being contrasted in this narrative, television is a kind of one-way response, where it can directly control your mind. So the kind of technological communication which emerged in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, until 90s, mainly television, which was one-way communication, which could control the minds of the people. Then we had internet, which slightly opened up the possibilities. And we see that possibility in the last decade, that is 2010 onwards, where there were revolutions. The governments were brought down in many countries using the social media. And today we know that how even social media is also subjected to certain kind of censorship, or what you call as algorithms. How you can manipulate the algorithms, and algorithms can give you certain things and not give you certain things, and who is controlling these things and how it is being controlled. All these are again issues. So the technology which is one way, a technology which is two way, and again the controlling of this kind of technology too, and what kind of subject positions that they create, or what kind of subjects the state wants to produce. These are interesting questions. I think though the narrative is slightly begins with as a kind of dystopia and then ends in a kind of not in pessimism but in a kind of optimism. You burn the books, but books are not the medium through which we pass on the narrations, but there are other ways of passing on the narration. But in spite of that, it also raises other issues which we can take up for further discussion. Thank you.
Yeah. Pallavi, I think Tarkeshwar has raised many important questions and also has made important observations with regard to other side of burning, especially when we are talking about the burning of Manusmriti. And also he also talked about how it's not the only state which is trying to burn the books or silence the voice of the silence reading practices, but are also the role of civil society or political community that comes in and tries to silence the reading practices of the people. Tarkeshwar, actually, one of the books that she is trying to analyze also talks about how in the domestic life, silence is imposed on the children and how the children try to resist such silence imposed by the parents. It's not only the schools that try to choke the voice of the children and their reading practices, but also the parents. So one of the case studies of Pallavi is also trying to deal with that. But Pallavi, I think some of the issues raised by Tarkeshwar, Nagaragiri Ramesh and others should be taken seriously, and you can extend your arguments to include all these points, and that would definitely make your analysis very significant and worth doing. Pallavi, would you like to respond to some of the issues raised by Tarkeshwar?
All I can say is I have noted his suggestions and questions as you two mentioned them. I shall work upon them. And to reiterate, in the movie, the censorship is imposed by the state, but I am reading fictions in wherein censorships are imposed by parents, censorships are imposed in libraries. I mean, books are contested by group of people's group. Books are contested for political reasons, etc. So, in my study, I shall incorporate all the suggestions. It was a very helpful kind of discussion that I had today, and I thank the platform for this.
Perhaps you can get back to the video which is made available to you very soon by Nikhila and get to know about the issues raised by various participants. Fabian has something to say in the chat box. Pallavi, can you go through that and would you like to respond to that quickly, if you can? Fabian has something to say in the chat box. About the
Yes, I
Yeah.
think it's important to go to the definition of autodafe, which is the right word for burning, for books burning, and it was done during the Middle Age.
Okay.
Can I
Pallavi, can you note
please?
down? Yeah, please, Ramesh sir, please.
Mr. Tarkeshwar has brought in quite a few other issues, but I would like to restrict myself to just one or two of them. He was drawing this analogy between the burning of books, for example, the burning of Manusmriti by Ambedkar, and also the burning of books as depicted in this film. But I see one very important difference there between the two, because here it is done by the authorities, by the state. And as I was saying in my earlier presentation, I said, books here are not merely books, they are ideas, right? So the state is interested in destroying ideas, not just books. Books are only physical manifestation of those ideas. The state does not want any ideas contrary to what the state wants to propagate to flourish. But then when we come to think of the burning of Manusmriti, it is a different matter altogether, I believe, because it is one, you see, which had completely dehumanized one section of the society. And Dr. Ambedkar, being a representative of that section of the society, he wanted to express his anger over that dehumanizing attempt on the part of the powerful people. The powerful people here, as we see in the Manusmriti, are the Brahminical section of the society. So it is mainly an expression of that anger. Because Dr. Ambedkar also should have known very well that just by burning that book, Manusmriti, those ideas would not die down. Because we know, even today, there are many people who want Manusmriti to be the so-called new constitution of India, and not merely that. We also have this instance of the statue of Manu, well, installed there in front of a court in some state. I think it is Rajasthan or so. So that very fact shows that Manu, who is notorious for those ideas, well, expressed in that book Manusmriti, in spite of that, you see, he is being represented. Sorry, he is being well respected, and those ideas are very, very dear to certain sections. And it is not merely burning of books that we can think of. There is also this other thing like banning of books. For example, in Kannada, for instance, there was this book by Jay Prakash, Banjigari Jay Prakash, Anudeva Horaginava. I think Pallavi knows about it. Anudeva
Yes,
Horaginava.
sir.
Yes?
Yes, I have read about it, sir.
Yes. And then the other book by ಪುಸ್ತಕದ ಹೆಸರೇನು ಪೂರ್ತಿ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ತಾರಕೇಶ್ವರ್? ಆನುದೇವ ಹೊರಗನಿವನು ಅಲ್ಲ,
ಹೊರಗಣ.
Right. And then, well, that book by Salman Rushdie, Satanic Verses, and also that other book by Taslima Nasreen, Lajja, and the one by, I think it was P.V. Narayana, Dharmakarana. Dharmakarana, thank you. So all these things, but it may be burning of books, and there is this difference between burning of book Manusmriti by Ambedkar and this demand to ban these books by other sections. Anyway, this demand to ban these books and also banning of these books, it represents a totally different section of the society. It is the predominant, or it is a dominant part of the society which wants these books to be banned. And the government, the state also, it yields, right? So these are all various other questions that naturally, you see, chip in when you begin to discuss this issue of books being the vehicles of ideas. Because books are not just books; they are the vehicles of ideas. They are the vehicles of culture. And Tarkeshwar was talking of a situation where there are no books, but still there could be a sort of a censorship. It takes us back to the times of Socrates, because we know very well why Socrates was killed. The charge against him was that he was trying to spoil the young people, not through books, merely through his words. So that idea of spreading certain thoughts, certain ideas, which did not go well with the establishment, which did not go well with the powerful people in authorities. That is the question that always is very relevant to any society of any time. It may be ancient time, it may be the time of Galileo, it may be, here, even the Charvakas, for example. You know very well what happened to the Charvakas and their ideology in India. So when once you plunge into these details, almost from every part of the world, you can get instances of the state versus the civil society. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, others. Anybody else who can continue the discussion with small, brief questions, comments? Nikhila, are we running out of time?
Not really. If there's anything that people want to say, I think Fabian was trying to make some point in the chat box.
Okay.
Maybe she wants to come in again, and you can go on, Vijay. No problem. We have all the time in the world.
Fabian, would you like
Yes,
to?
yes,
Yes.
yes. Thank you. You know, the burning of books is called autodafe, and autodafe it comes from Spanish. It's a Spanish word, and at the origin, it was burning people. The church in Spain were persecuting the people supposed not to have a strong faith or be or for not being Christian enough. So they were persecuting the people and burning them, which means autodafe. And by extension, it also meant to burn books. It is the same word. So it is very interesting to go to this Middle Age period, a dark period in the European history where you could be burnt because you had different ideas, different religion from the mainstream church in Europe. So it is something very violent historically. So I wanted to give this light on this period. So I will invite to look on Google what is the autodafe during the Middle Age. It was something of a terrible cruelty. It was terrible. It was barbarian. So so I think it's interesting to go back to this etymology.
I'm sure Pallavi is listening to you intently.
If I can just make a very short intervention, Vijay.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Pallavi is working on burning and banning of books. After watching this film, another film that came immediately to mind to me was Sant Tukaram, where all his manuscripts, where he writes his, his poems, his songs, are all drowned in the river. So I was wondering if all forms of destruction are, encompassed in Pallavi's project. And also, as in the 2012, in earlier versions of the film, the books magically resurface. The river goddess comes up and gives those books back. But in the 2012 version of the film, the songs live on through word of mouth, as it happens in this book. So as they memorize, so the idea is it will be passed on. So it reminded me of that film. So I was wondering if it's only burning or all forms of destruction that Pallavi is, looking at in her project. Just that question.
So is the burning of Vachanas also. That's the belief that we have. It's up to Pallavi to expand her definition of burning and banning. I think she has to ponder over these questions seriously, and in the thesis or in her PhD, she has to go through these questions.
Yes, sir.
Pallavi?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody else? Or any brief comments, brief, quick questions? So I think we should call it a day, Nikhila.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you, all of you, once again. And I'm sure the discussion on this film triggered off many questions, contentious issues. I definitely wish that Pallavi Ilkal as a research scholar would benefit a lot from all these questions, feedback, comments by the participants. And I thank Nikhila, Geeta, and TFU for giving me an opportunity to introduce and initiate the discussion along with Pallavi. And I think it was really useful for all of us. Thank you once again, and I should say good night to all of you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Thank you, Pallavi. Thank you, Vijay. Thanks all. Bye. Good night. See you next week.
I thank everyone. Good night.
See you all next week, same time.
Thank you.